Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. Hope you're having a good day. In case you don't know, this is serious talk on everything that affects you. No, really, everything that affects you and is going to affect you going forward, depending on, and we never tie our life to one person, but when we have an election with polar opposites on what they would do as far as setting conditions on the economy, we're going to be yapping a lot. And at the outset of the show, we'll be talking about, and of course, we'll do markets, more markets, and a lot more markets after that. But first, if you do not get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our Twitter feed. And if you don't follow us on Twitter, by the way, it's now X. You should. And of course, you can email me, just be nice, right there at GaryK.com. And again, we will cover everything that's vital to you. And we just don't whistle Dixie here. We are very engaged. We are in tune with what's going on out in the world. We watch it about as close as can be. And we do it with no ulterior motive, agenda, or bias whatsoever. We have taken on all comers. We couldn't give a crap what party they are in. We want the people running the show just to set the conditions and leave us alone. They have this idea that they are the end-all be-all, but no, we are the end-all be-all. The economy is 160 million of us working our tail off every day to do better for ourselves and our families. Not them. Not button pushers. Not, I got this proposal and that. Just get out of the way. So today we're going to start out Vice President Harris. What we are hearing is she is now going to come out and pretty much disavow the policies of the last 3.5 years. Disavow. Even though we have been told that she was right there with President Biden at his side and all for all. Now, we'll give some wiggle room. We know a vice president has to what the president wants, but we have followed careers. We're not talking about, we read something in a newspaper or watch something on TV. We really get a feel for who people are and what they are about. So, going forward, Joe Biden's gone. By the way, the latest news, he is pissed off at Pelosi and Harris and Obama for threatening his ass and kicking him out. Of course, he can't say that, but he has been telling it to people in the press that are vowed to not say who they are. Whatever. As we've gone into the election, a few things stick out like sore thumbs to me. Sore thumbs. First and foremost, inflation. That's a problem, isn't it, right now? Not the rate of inflation now, that's come down, which is very normal. And they're taking credit for it. But they don't take any blame for the inflation that skyrocketed. And we mean skyrocketed. You have all seen, felt the thing you are paying for now and how much you paid for them 3 years ago. We're not talking small potatoes. We're talking big potatoes. Vice President Harris, President Biden, Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, I'm going to guess 4 months, 5 months, out there in front of camera, on video, telling us there isn't any inflation. There isn't any inflation. No, there isn't any inflation. When it showed up, they said it was transitory. We want you to remember that. One of the most arduous, rough part of the economy, they didn't have a clue. And it took them quite the while to have a clue. They came out with the Inflation Reduction Act, a gargantuan, on top of our already spending bill. And they sold it. And they sold it. And the other side fought it. And they played with it. And don't ask me why the Republicans signed off on it when all was said and done. They take 50% of the blame. And of course, moderate Joe Manchin was the last one who, after the fact, said, boy, did they con me. What a con job. After the fact, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris said there was really nothing as far as inflation reduction in the Inflation Reduction Act. By the way, that's on video. He actually went out and admitted that they lied. Now we attach Harris to Biden for obvious reasons. But we're not done. They loved California raising the minimum wage way up for fast food workers, which has caused all kinds of strife in the fast food industry in California. Closings, firings, less hours, higher costs. Their latest defense of inflation: companies are gouging you. Yes, it has nothing to do with them. Companies are screwing you. It's the famed line of the dog ate my homework routine. They actually are that stupid to say that supermarkets are gouging you when supermarkets have a 1 to 2% margin and have no control of what the manufacturers sending things in are asking to pay. Yes, they can negotiate, but they're not going to negotiate to lose money. But of course, let's blame good old American companies. They call anybody, and have called anybody who makes over $400,000 tax cheats. Do you remember? We are going to spend billions on the IRS, and don't worry, we're not going to order anybody under $400,000, but you better beware above $400,000 because we know what you're doing. And the billionaires are all tax cheats. The successful are all tax cheats. They actually come out and praised that the IRS was able to get an extra certain amount of money out of billionaires in the last couple of years, but nobody was arrested. Nobody indicted. Obviously for two reasons, because those are the people that give big donations, but there was no crimes committed. There are some tax cheats out there, of course. But it's the tax code. And who put together the tax code over the last 50 years? Who was one of those people? Oh, Joe Biden. Have you ever read the tax code? You would think to yourself, They must be doing this on purpose, right? To come up with thousands and thousands of pages instead of what Gary would do, President Gary? Postcard. Oh, how much you make? Oh, that's your tax rate. Maybe throw in a couple of things like mortgage interest and a couple other things, but you see what they've done. They've turned it into a phalanx of, we don't understand what the hell is there, that we've got to hire accountants and pay them big bucks in order to figure this out. Up next, what else? And what proposals were on the table for the future? And then the markets. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge
The last bastion of quality programming.
with Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
Next, as we have said to you, there are two big parts of the great con job. There are two big parts to the gargantuan scam. And that is, with the media saying nothing and just letting them do what they do, the increase in government from when they took over, this is Biden, Harris, Harris, Biden, whichever way you want to put it, for the record books. The year before COVID, our federal spending was $4.4 trillion. Our Rusty Abacus says they're in the mid to high sixes now, and all of it's debt. That would mean they have increased the size and scope and spending of government higher than any COVID year, and most all of it debt. When all they had to do is just go up a little bit. But no. And they lie about it. They said, oh, it's entitlement. That's a lie. Entitlement spending's going up. But 380 of that billion, 380 billion is going towards John Podesta. Hey, John, a lifelong Democratic hack, you get to dole it out for climate. Only a measly 380 billion, part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And that's just for starters. So the first part of the big con was just increase everything beyond the beyond. What's the second part? Lie about it. Oh, we've been lowering the deficits. We've been lowering the debt. We've been doing a great job with that. And in fact, over the next 10 years, we're going to lower the debt $3 trillion. They don't tell you it's going up $20 trillion and they're minusing $3 trillion. It's one of the great con jobs of all time. And of course, the media. And one thing sticks out for me. Just one thing. I can name 100 of them, but one really stuck out. You know who Erin Burnett is of CNN? Well, she used to be on CNBC. I don't know her personally, but I'm told she's a brilliant financial mind. But unfortunately, she's on CNN. She does an interview with Biden, and Biden looks at her in the face and says, "We've done a wonderful job," and I'm paraphrasing, "on debt and deficits. And we've lowered the debt and deficits." And she knows he's lying. And as a journalist, you can't go back to the president and say, "Why are you lying?" Of course, unless you do it to Donald Trump. But she could have said, "President Biden, we're running a $2 trillion deficit this year. Federal spending is up these amount of trillions of dollars over the last 3 years. You're saying you're going to cut the deficit in the next 10 years by $3 trillion, but it's going up $20 trillion. Can you explain that?" No, she sat there and moved on. And this is what sickens me, because this is about you. Each and every one of you that listens to this show, and I wish we had millions, because we're 10 times more important than the others. The journalist sat there, said nothing to a blatant gargantuan lie about the growth of government versus us. And let me be clear when I say versus us. It's versus us. They're the opposition. $380 billion for climate? You know, I was in New York City this past weekend. I walked past 30, 40 homeless Americans. But let's give $380 billion for climate. So that's Erin Burnett. And of course, there's a slew of these people that do not follow up with when somebody lies to them, unless the name is Trump, of course. Or now J.D. Vance, who's now the Antichrist. And again, I can take Trump or leave him. I'd rather have somebody else. So they spend us into oblivion. $2 trillion plus deficits. The CBO has come out that the trajectory now says we're going from 35 to 56 trillion in 10 years. Which means 65 to 70, because the CBO is always low. Always. And very. And that number accounts for 2 to 3% GDP. We're going to have a recession. You know what happens then? The deficit skyrockets during that time because less revenue's coming in. But then is the other side of the big Biden-Harris scam. And I'm a big believer in believing them when they tell us. Because the young lady Harris is already out rolling back a bunch of this. Oh, first off, we want to lower taxes for waiters and waitresses in service, even though part of their IRS money was to go after waiters and waitresses and their cash tips. Did you know that? Do you think the media asked them about that? How can you all of a sudden this when you did that? Nope. But the second part of the con, the tougher part of the con, is that if they have their way, they have proposed long-term capital gains. That's as if you own an asset and you hold it for more than a year, you pay 20%. They want to take that to 44.6%, which is sheer insanity. Even thinking about it is sheer insanity. It totally takes the incentive away to hold more than a year. But I have one worse. They have proposed a 25% unrealized gain. Oh, you didn't sell that asset, but you're up 50 grand at the end of the year. You're paying tax on it. They're insane. They've proposed wealth taxes, but that is so down in the polls, worse than root canal and herpes simplex number 2, that they've tabled it. And of course, or is it herpes simplex number 3? Of course, sunsetting the Trump tax cuts that they're lying about also. Oh, it's only going to be for people above 400,000, but you can't piecemeal getting rid of a bill. It's everybody. So the first part of the con is spend us into deficit oblivion. The second part, we're coming to get you. You know what's in the name of? Fair share. Pay your fair share. We don't have enough. Up next, we'll put a bow tie on it. We'll do the markets. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
Now, I want to make sure you know, everything we're saying to you is from their mouths, not ours. Everything we have said to you is not opinion. It's fact. The numbers we give you, the proposals they have put out, a massive confiscation of our economic wealth into their coffers to pay for their whatever you want to, whatever. Now, the opinion part is, all you're doing is hurting the economy, hurting jobs. You know, you've had a little steroids on the economy because of their spending. But you do know there's always the bills to be paid. All they have done is create another credit card to pay for the last one and covered up by a media that says absolutely nothing about it. It's not even talked about. Yet they do have their friends on the New York Times, some of the economists saying, oh, it's okay, because it's just a percentage of GDP. In other words, as we grow, they grow. The problem is, as we grow $1, they grow $3. So when Vice President trying to be President Harris comes out and tries to amnesia everything that's happened for 3.5 years, we'll know it. I doubt she's going to be brazen enough on an economic policy to say, and we're going to raise long-term capital gains from 20 to 44.6%. And we're going to do unrealized gains 25%. She's not going to do that. But I hearken back to Bill Clinton. You know, one of Bill Clinton's famous nicknames was Slick Willie. Because when he ran for president, he said he is not raising taxes. I'm not raising taxes. I'm not raising taxes. On the second day of his presidency, he announced the proposal to raise taxes. I remember that like it's yesterday. Because all I thought about that day was, like we didn't know. Tariffs. They said Trump tariffs sucked. I agree. Trump tariffs sucked. Guess what Biden and Harris did with tariffs? They did tariffs. And I can just throw in their Department of Justice today going after Google because, oh, Google, you're too big. Oh, you're screwing people also. And they've done it with others also. They've blocked some mergers also. So the list goes on and on about we wanting people just to set good conditions and get the hell out of the way. And all they have been doing is set great conditions for their government while kicking us in the teeth and creating a mirage that all is well when so much of the GDP comes from them, their power base. I can't wait to hear what she has to say as she rolls out her economic policy in the days ahead. I think she's going to. Tomorrow we'll do Trump. Because as you know, we have a good bad on Trump with the economy. We have a good bad. And we'll explain exactly what we mean tomorrow. But on a binary choice on setting conditions and leaving us the hell alone, you have filet mignon versus Spam. And by the way, nothing against Spam. You know, my second home's Hawaii and they love Spam there. We move on. Dow up another 242 today, but the NASDAQ only up 4. But the good news is the NASDAQ was down 60 with a few minutes left and finished up 4. The S&P up 20. The NASDAQ 100 only 16. Transport's only 13. Retail was very weak. Commodities on the week, weak. China very weak. Solar's weak. Even though the SOX is only down 9, and it was up 90 and down 90, my SOX page is all red except for NVIDIA up 2, Lam Research up 4, so it's a little skewed. Advanced declined 17.23 on the NASDAQ, but 24 to 15 on the New York. And what stuck out today in strength? Financials, good day. Insurance stocks, I saw something that Progressive Insurance said about what they're making, and it's a lot. So Progressive today popped out of range with some volume. Market was happy, and other insurance stocks followed. And as you know, the amount we're paying for home, health, auto is just skyrocketing. Here in Florida, the home insurance is a big wow. Hey, God bless these insurance companies for making that coin. Yesterday was indeed that confirming follow-through day, and not bad today. I could pick a few things apart, but I'm not going to. New high list, not much there. Saw a couple of, besides Progressive Insurance, Ferrari, symbol race, really nice breakout today of about 6 months range. I wish I saw news, but I didn't, but I do know they're sold out for like years. Eli Lilly had that good reaction to earnings, was up again today, but needs some work in here, needs some time. Netflix, big name, got back above the 50-day moving average, but plenty of work to be done. But good day. And again, last Monday was that gargantuan VIX washout. And the VIX today plunged even lower today. That's the volatility index. That amazingly pretty much now is round-tripped. I'm even stunned. And we had posed the question, is it the Japan thing just a one-off? And as of this second, it is. And amazingly, even though Japan dropped 25%, their market, the number 3 GDP country, their market dropped 25% in days off of a quarter-point rate hike, the market's basically blown everything off. Everything's cool again, with plenty of warts. But I like what we see. When we all was said and done today, the Dow got back above the 50-day yesterday, a little bit more today. The S&P touch the 50-day at the close today on the underside. The NASDAQ still plenty away. The NASDAQ 100 still plenty away. The Russell 2000 still sucks. The transports still ick. But they trade like penny stocks, and you never know if tomorrow will have a good day. And we hope we can build on this. I'm told we're in seasonal weakness time into September, October. I couldn't care less about that. I don't know if the market even knows that. There's still a ton of names that have been so damaged and so blown up over the last weeks that it's going to be tough on them. We'll ignore them. And when I look at retail, man, oh man, oh man, there's some ugh in the retail. The airlines act like crap. The cruise lines that look like they were getting going, getting blown up. The Airbnbs, no go. They smoked Marriott and some other travel-related stuff. So it ain't everything. And as always, what we will do, if this gets better, we will just tell you where. And as always, it's your money. You decide. We're just telling you what we're seeing. Up next, we'll stick with the market. I got a couple other tidbits. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for?
1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
So I just, I've been telling you as we've been going along with all this. As you get older and whatever, you go through different phases and things, and I'm lucky. My parents, 92 and 91, and up until recently have lived in their own place, fending for themselves with a little help from my brother, but it's really getting tough now. My mom had this stroke, but they got to it, and there's no, paralysis. She can speak. But the strength has really head downhill. We do rehab, but you can just tell that at the age of 91, very tough effect. So now we're in the midst of something we're trying to never get to, but we're going to have to, because when I approach the subject to both of them about let's move you into assisted living, my father, who never curses, throws out a couple of interesting words. So what we're doing, in the midst of doing, it's not easy, is getting a full-time live-in, both medical / do the things around the place. And we're in the midst now of recontacting, because we've, looked at it in the past. But man, oh man, I feel for people that can't afford when something like this occurs. Wow. Our lives are about us learning until we go. And you never know what we have to learn about. Sometimes we like to learn about something, and sometimes it's forced onto us. Wow. And all I was thinking to myself today when we had conversations with some of these people was, what if people don't have the wherewithal to cover something so necessary as taking care of your elderly loved ones. And I hear things, well, they take all your money and then you go on something or other. Wow. That's what I hear. I doubt anybody will argue that. I don't know exactly how it works, but wow. That's all I got to say is, wow. As I have told you, my brother's the hero. What he has been doing, God bless this man. They are up in New Jersey. I live in Florida. I'm traveling back and forth left and right. My wife is also. Not easy. But they've earned it. So we're going to take care of it. And we've discussed this before, and we've got a lot of input from you guys out there that experienced it and also in the industry. Right now we're looking in New Jersey to find some serious home health care, but we want to go through a real good interview process to know. My father says to me, "There's no strangers living in my house." We'll see how it goes. We'll keep you up to date. And we're not making fun of my father. He's a great man, and just like all of us, have a lot of pride. And at that age, and I can't even imagine the frustration at this point. All right, we have to segue. In the news, just letting you know, and we pick on San Fran a lot because it's been run into the ground by Pelosi, and not one journalist asked her what's going on in San Fran because they're afraid of her. She was the head honcho kicking Biden out. San Francisco's hospitality business imploded during the pandemic. Now its hotel owners are drowning in debt as never before, and they're blaming on visitors. Oh, lack of visitors. Because people are reading about too much strife and too much worry there and too much crime and too much this and too much that. And let's see, the city's two largest hotels, the Hilton Park 55 and Hilton San Francisco Union Square, combined to have lost $1 billion in value, according to a bond rating agency. Nice. Pelosi land. And nobody asked her about it. Airbnb, I mentioned that earlier. They're saying they're losing a bunch of whatever to travelers to hotels. I got to tell you, I never have done an Airbnb, but I've tried. They need to fix their system up. They need to fix it up. I could not get answers. I could not get specifics when I tried to do it. And by the way, I tried to do it in Hawaii at the time. I don't know if they still have them in Hawaii, but at the time they did. Yeah, I think it was Hawaii. The boom in travel spending has slowed. Well, we already told you that. They're writing about it now. We've been telling you that for a little bit. And we just want, we have a good ear to the ground. Just letting you know. I don't know if it lasts. We hope it doesn't. The consumer, without a doubt, is a little bit of an issue right now. We think it's fallen off the ledge. We don't think it's fallen off a ledge in the Grand Canyon. And I say that because I'm pretty damn sure if we were heading to something of real import with the economy to the downside, we'll be about 15% lower in stock prices. How do I know this? Go look at every market during recession as the onset of recession comes. It's 1 + 1 = 2 at the time. That's how it goes. So we're watching very closely, but very good. Remember last Monday, the big VIX washout? I told you the story about one of my clients wanting to sell NVIDIA on the open. Talked them out of it. Should have probably bought the hell out of it. But that's what happened on Monday. A lot of people got scared out at the most inopportune time. And once all the sellers are gone, you get rallies and we're bouncing up here. And pretty darn good. Can't argue that point. All All right, tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday, I'll be on with Varney and Company. 11 a.m. hour tomorrow. Check that out, Fox Business Network. And same time tomorrow, this radio show. You have a great evening. Drive carefully. And when you get home, do like we do. It's quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Peace out, my friends. Serenity now. Good night.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.